welcome to the show, everybody. Listen, Landon Dickerson suffered an injury in practice, and it didn't look good on initial evaluation when we saw the video. Now, it was a grainy video that everybody has seen. And the news is that it's a meniscus injury, which is not a bad injury. It doesn't seem to require a full-on repair. At least that's what I have been hearing. And really, today's episode is just going to give a little bit of a breakdown of this guy's injury, because it's a significant injury for a significant player on a very significant team, because it is, after all, the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think the way I want to go about this is, one, talk about the injury, talk about what the meniscus does for anybody, let alone offensive linemen who are leading the best rushing attack in all of football and part of the Philadelphia Eagles, and then give a little bit more of a, I guess, go into more dialogue about what it can look like down the line for him, when he could potentially come back, because you hear rumors about him potentially coming back week 1. You know, that's up in the air. And again, it'll kind of let me show you the chops that I have in regards to diagnosing injuries and talking about, you know, the human anatomy and stuff like that, because after all, I am a doctor after all. Yes indeed. Wow, that was really terrible, me trying to adjust my glasses. You know, I have such a big freaking head, I can't even get my glasses on and the hat on right. So I got to keep my glasses the way they are right now, or else I won't be able to see a damn thing, because I'm that much of a dork. Anyways, so listen, we'll talk about all that and a little bit more. Maybe what it means for Philadelphia going forward this season, and will that actually compromise what our aspirations are, not only as a fan base, but as an organization for this upcoming year. But before we do that, you know what it is. This is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I am your host, Asif Badi, Dr. Asif Badi, I might add. And like you, I am a Birds fan who talks about the Birds, only the Birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor here. If you want to help grow this channel organically, shoot this video a thumbs up, comment your thoughts in the comment section below if you want to be part of the conversation, and subscribe to the channel. Also, check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing. And I, for one, understand asking for money. I would never do that to any of you. So just shoot the subscribe button, shoot this video a thumbs up. It would mean the absolute world to me, and we thank you for your support on the opposite side of the camera and on the opposite side of the fairways here, the radio airwaves, whatever it is that they're called. We appreciate you all. All right. Landon Dickerson, starting left guard. We know the deal. Meniscus injury. How severe is it is what the remaining question is. Now, it's not an ACL. It's not, you know, any severe season-ending injury, which is a good thing. And I think earlier on, people thought, based on the way they were helping him off the field, getting him onto the cart, and when you read the reports, it said, oh, Landon Dickerson was carted off of practice after sustaining an injury to his lower body or whatever it was, right? And you get a gasp of air and hand on your chest, you start to hyperventilate a little bit, right? Context behind that is important, because when he was carted off the field, he was put in the cart where he was able to sit next to the driver. Now, if you know anything about the cart, because we've seen, unfortunately, many injuries in the NFL and many injuries with athletes, when you get put on the cart, if you're put on the back of the cart, your legs have got to be extended, so your knees got to be straight. You got to be sitting upright, or you're lying down on your back, and that's usually not a very good sign. That's pretty severe injury. But if you're sitting next to the driver, think about what just happened here. He injured his knee, he injured his lower extremity, and he sat next to the driver, implying that he has to actually sit with his knees bent. If he could sit with his knees bent, that's not the worst sign in the world. Okay, so that's kind of the one little thing that take into consideration when you're talking about this man's injury. He was able to sit, he was able to bend or flex his knee. Good sign. Cool. Then he went and they ruled out an Achilles, which is nice. They ruled out ACL, which a lot of the times when you get a meniscus injury can be associated with it. And we're kind of going to talk about that a little bit later. But they ruled it's a meniscus injury. And really, what the meniscus is a piece of tissue that's kind of, just imagine, better yet, let me just pull up the photo. So, the radio audience, I will explain it all. The video audience, here you go. All right. This is your knee, for those of you who can't tell. So, this guy right here is your kneecap. The bone that's right here, that's your femur, that's your thigh bone. The one below that is your shin bone, your tibia. And basically, where these two guys meet is what makes your knee. Okay. Now, the tendon in front over here is your patella ligament. That's the thing that N'Kobe Dean tore, but that's maybe we talk about that in another episode. But if you look at it, right behind your patella ligament, there's a little thin piece of tissue there that kind of looks like a little bit of I wouldn't necessarily say a sponge, but it's a piece of cartilage that's there, and that's your meniscus, okay? This guy right here acts as a shock absorber to the knee, essentially. It helps with pressure, it helps with compression, it helps guide movement to your knee, because think of it like this. If you're on a train, you want to be on the tracks. That's kind of what you want to be in. If you go off the tracks, you're going to get derailed, and then you got a big problem, a bigger problem than, being derailed, right? You could completely destroy your knee. So the meniscus is there not only to guide movement, it's there to help lubricate the joint so that it moves smoothly, distributes pressure all around, so that, think about it, all the time you're walking around and you're walking up and down stairs, you're moving around. This little guy right here helps prevent bone on bone action. And any of you know people who have arthritis, they basically got bone on bone action. And that's not a very good thing to have. It's a matter of fact, very, very painful. And it can be debilitating depending on how bad the bone on bone is. But it's like you're driving around a car that's got no brake pads. Yeah, you could do it. I wouldn't advise it. You can do it if you drive slow enough and you move if you don't, move with such great explosiveness and all that stuff. But Landon Dickerson's in the NFL. He's playing guard, and he's not a small man by any means. So he's got to be able to take on compressive weight. And when your meniscus is compromised, and again, I'm also speaking not only from experience treating people with meniscus problems, but actually suffering from meniscus, injury myself. Without it, it's really, really tough to, put pressure on it when you're running, going upstairs, and moving around. Your knee just doesn't move the same. And for him, it's particularly important that his meniscus is intact, because not only is he playing, or not only is he such an active person, but he's playing guard. So you really need to be able to plant your leg in the ground, hold yourself up, and be able to not only drive people backwards, but prevent people from driving you into your quarterback. And having problems with your meniscus can result to instability problems. That's why people, when they get meniscus tears, you hear a click in their knee when they bend, or they feel like they're about to buckle. And again, speaking from experience here, I did it when I was running a route. I tried, exploding off my leg, and I heard a pop. And that's when I kind of knew, hey, something's not right. I was able to finish the game because I'm a psycho, but at the end of the night, my knee was swollen up. I couldn't bend it as much. And there was a piece of meniscus just floating around my knee. And that's what was causing a lot of the instability and causing a lot of tweaking and all that jazz. But anyway, point being is, he has a meniscus that's compromised, and it's going to really prevent him putting weight on the leg. It's going to prevent him going upstairs properly. You can walk on it fine. It's all good, but it's just not going to be pleasant. Okay. And the options to treat somebody with a meniscus problem is one of twofold. You can either leave it, depending on how bad it is. If it's really, really, if it's not super, super severe, and you're like, hey, listen, I'm not looking to run a marathon or anything like that, or I'm not playing in the NFL. I just want to, I'd prefer not to get surgery. I just want to walk around. Cool. You don't have to get surgery. You could deal with it. I've been offered that solution too. They say, hey, some days you're going to feel good, some days you're not. If you're not going to be running, every single weekend, you don't need to get the surgery. If you're going to want to run and you want to be able to be active and be able to do things, get the surgery done. So Landon Dickerson most likely is going to get a surgical procedure done on this knee. And it's just a matter of whether or not it's a mastectomy or a full repair. Now, the mastectomy literally just means removal of a meniscus. Now, it's not a full removal of the meniscus. It's a partial removal or a trimming. So basically, I'll pull up the meniscus drawing again. This piece here, instead of being, I'm picking an arbitrary number here. Let's just say, if that, maybe like it's half an inch, okay? Let's just pick a number. It's not literally that, but that's neither here nor there. Let's just say something's like yay thick, okay? Here, let me pull up my face. Inspection here. If something's yay thick, let's just say it's an inch tall. A mastectomy is basically you're trimming it down to make it half an inch. Or you're trimming it down so that, it's like taking sandpaper to a piece of wood. It's got a chip in it. You smooth it over. It becomes a little thinner, but it's smooth. You got no issues there. A lot of the times, because it's already been worn down, most people just end up, like trimming it down so thin it's almost as if it's bone on bone. Now, that's eventually what happened to me. My meniscus is not super, super thick anymore the way it normally is in a normal anatomy. It's a little bit thinner, which is why by the time I'm 50 or 60, I'm probably going to have to get a knee surgery, but that's neither here nor there. Landon Dickerson can probably have that option down the road, but you thin it down, you smooth the edges over, and it's usually a pretty quick process considering what it potentially could be. Now, prognosis is very good, very easy procedure that's done. You kind of go in and out. It's through a camera lens, poke 2 holes, you stick the camera through, you trim it down, you whip out, and that's it. It's not a very severe incision that you have to get done with the mastectomy. Usually you're gone for a few weeks. Now, we'll get to that timeline a little bit down the road, but if he had a meniscus repair, that's season ending. That is literally you're taking the meniscus out, yanking it out, putting a new one in. That is like, that's damn near 7 to 9 months. That's completely, hey, you're not walking on this thing for a while. You're not going to get back to sport for at least damn near a year. And luckily, and again, I don't know 100%, but I believe it's not going to be a full-on repair. So that's a good sign. So you can expect Landon Dickerson to be out for a few weeks. Now, when it comes to the timeline, some people are saying he could be back by week 1. Now, September 4th is the first game of the season against the Cowboys. What are we, August 11th? So let's call it, 3.5 weeks or so. If he were to get this procedure done like in the next few days, can he be back by week 1? It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's certainly possible because, one, he's relatively young in terms of human life. He's very active because he's in the NFL. He's not a weak man by any means. So all of that plays into it. Oh, he's got like the best nutrition coaches. He's got the best strengthening coaches, right? You're in a professional league like the NFL. Most of the time, you're around really, really smart people in regards to the human body. Now, there's some strength coaches and some other people out there who, that's a whole different conversation. I'm not even going to get into all of that. That's a totally separate discussion. But again, assuming you're around the best facilities, the best doctors, the optimal care, you're taking the optimal care of your body, you got the best nutrition, all that stuff. That timeline can shrink from a few weeks to me, meaning like, a couple months. You could probably cut that in half, right? So is it possible that he can come back by September 4th against Dallas? Very possible. If it were a normal person like me, well, I guess not really normal person, but you get my point. Somebody who's not in the NFL, but someone who's relatively active, that's a good, 6 weeks or so, 6, 7 weeks before you're kind of back to being able to like, okay, I can like, bend my knee comfortably. I can move around. I feel stable. I'm willing to try certain things, right? And that's what the rehab aspect of it's for. And that's kind of where I come in. I'm the PT guy. That's what I do. And that's kind of where I see most people. But Landon Dickerson being back by week 1, in my opinion, is you're really pushing the envelope here, or envelope, however you want to say it. You're pushing the envelope because you're saying, hey, we got a really great opportunity here to get off to a fast start. You're healthy enough to go. And listen, every player is going to want to play. So it's really up to the team and the other doctors to say, hey, dude, like, we don't need you to be pushing yourself back to go week 1. We got a little latitude here, okay? So that's up to the Eagles, and I have a feeling the Eagles are going to go on the side of conservatism in this approach, because if their ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl once again, then you have to look at it in a long-term lens. And Landon Dickerson has to be part of your long-term plans in order to secure a Super Bowl, because without him, you get a significant drop-off from all-star left guard to the backup. And not only that, considering Cam Jurgens' injury with his back, if somehow he goes down with an injury, if Landon Dickerson isn't there, who's the backup center? And what's the drop off there? Because Landon Dickerson's original position when he was drafted was center, but we had Jason Kelce, so they put him at guard, and he ended up being an all-pro guard, so you just left him there. But when Cam Jurgens went down last season, who was the backup center? It was Landon Dickerson. Landon Dickerson was the guy taking the ball and snapping it to Jalen Hurts, and arguably, one could argue, he might even be the best center on the team. But we have Cam Jurgens, and you need a guard, right? So his injury is very significant, not only to the depth of the offensive line, not only to the start of the offensive line, but for our long-term future. If he is rushing back, I talked about it before, and again, I'm going to pull up the picture one more time. When you have a meniscus injury, there's a lot of potential problems that can happen with your ACL. When you got an ACL problem, you can check back here for those of you in the picture audience, your ACL, it goes, you have your, geez Louise, I'll show the video audience and then I'll explain it to the radio audience. This front tendon here is your patella ligament, okay? Right behind that, you have your meniscus, and then your ACL sits basically where your meniscus is and attaches to the back of the femur here. And then you got your PCL, which is just behind the ACL. So a lot of the times when you get a meniscus injury, that's why they always look around the knee and they always check for an ACL. They always check for a PCL. They always check for other things around that, because most of the time when you suffer an ACL injury, a PCL injury, or a meniscus injury, you're going to hit some sort of damage to all 3 of them, right? Particularly with an ACL. The fact is that's not the case here, which is a good sign. That's why the prognosis is pretty good, and it's only projected to be a few weeks. Now, what's that few week mark? Whether it's 3 weeks, whether it's 6 weeks, I would rather push it to 7 or 8 weeks, in my opinion. So that way he's basically fully ready to go by midpoint of the season. And then you won't necessarily have to worry about suffering re-injury or really aggravating it later down the line, because I would rather have Landon Dickerson in December, January, and even potentially February than have him in September and October. Okay. And if we trust Jeff Stoutland and we trust the depth that we have built with the offensive line and the players that we've acquired, we have to let Landon Dickerson, whatever the advice of the doctors are, whatever the advice of the surgeons are, we have to let him take as much time as he needs in order to be 100% by the time the playoffs roll around. So he most likely, I don't anticipate him coming back week 1. If he does, tip of the cap to you, Landon Dickerson. You're a trooper, and you are a tough son of a bitch. We saw that in the conference title game. I wouldn't advise it. I would rather him come back in week 4, week 5, and be really, really ready to go, and then worry about what the chemistry on the offensive line is going to look like. But that, I don't think, is going to be much of an issue. So all I'm saying is here, Landon Dickerson's injury is significant, enough to the point where he could be out until closer to the halfway mark of the year. If he pushes himself, he can come back by week 1, week 2. More power to him. I wouldn't advise it. So yeah, that's a little bit of the knee anatomy. That's a little bit of Landon Dickerson's injury. And I thought it was just a really cool opportunity to talk about, just a little bit of a different discussion regarding the Philadelphia Eagles, because this injury is significant enough. And it will compromise what we look like in the beginning of the year, because now all of a sudden you have to think, hey, do we really now you got to lean more towards, that Lane Johnson, Tyler Steen, and see whether he can play out. Will Trevor Keegan be the starting left guard when Landon Dickerson's out? Will it be Matt Pryor? That sort of discussion becomes part of the fray. And, what does it mean for the quarterback sneak? Will that stay the same effectiveness or not? Remains to be seen, but the point being is the injury is significant enough where he's going to miss time. How much time is the question really up to him? I anticipate him not coming back until week 3, week 4. And if he does that, I think we're in pretty good shape. If he comes back earlier enough, he's just going to be dealing with a nagging knee injury throughout the season. And I would rather not deal with a nagging knee injury throughout the season if I were him. So I would advise him to just push back the return date, get the mastectomy done, trim the knee down, be able to put pressure on it, be able to move with, confidence and comfort. And I think that's basically what this episode's all about. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. There's other doctors out there that have talked about this injury. It's nothing to worry about, I don't believe. It's just a matter of what we're going to look like in the first part of the year, or whether or not he's going to be back by week 1. That remains to be seen. But a little bit of a different discussion here. Thank you for listening to the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast, and we'll see you back here next time. Hey, thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast.